I never thought my life was anything but normal. I had a steady routine, a loving partner, and a home that felt safe. Every morning, I'd wake up early, make coffee, and watch as my partner scrolled through their phone, half smiling at something unseen. I didn't think much of it. We all have our little distractions. Our neighbor Mark had always been around. Friendly, helpful, the kind of person who'd lend you a cup of sugar or help carry groceries without hesitation. My partner and I would joke that he was too nice for his own good. But I never imagined he was anything more than a friendly face next door. Lately, though, something felt off. My partner had been acting differently. Not in any dramatic way. Just small shifts I couldn't quite put my finger on. They started spending more time outside, taking longer to respond to texts, and there were moments when they seemed lost in thought, eyes flickering toward the window as if waiting for something. Or someone. I dismissed it. Relationships go through phases. We had been together for years, and comfort sometimes looks like distance. At least, that's what I told myself. That day was just like any other. I had planned a quick trip to the market, a routine I did almost mindlessly. The last thing my partner said before I left was a casual, "Take your time." At the moment, it didn't strike me as odd. But later, I'd replay those words over and over, realizing how deliberately they had been said. The market was crowded, filled with the usual chaos of last-minute shoppers and chatty cashiers. I moved through the aisles quickly, grabbing everything on my list and checking out faster than usual. The whole trip took less time than expected, and I found myself heading home ahead of schedule. As I walked up the driveway, something felt different. It wasn't anything obvious, just a shift in the air, a strange stillness. The house was quiet, but not the comforting kind of quiet. It was the kind of silence that feels unnatural, like the world had briefly paused. I reached for the doorknob, hesitating for a second before pushing the door open. The familiar scent of home mixed with something else, something I couldn't quite place. My heart started beating a little faster, but I didn't know why. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was imagining things. I stepped inside, setting my grocery bags down by the door. That's when I noticed it. Pair of shoes. Not mine. Not my partner's. My pulse quickened. The pieces of a puzzle I hadn't even realized I was solving were suddenly fitting together. I took a deep breath. Everything in me told me to stop, to turn around, to pretend I hadn't seen anything. But something stronger, something I couldn't ignore, pushed me forward. And that's when everything changed. My hands felt cold as I stood there, staring at the unfamiliar shoes. My mind tried to rationalize it. Maybe a friend had stopped by. Maybe there was some innocent explanation. But deep down I knew better. Something was wrong. My breath felt heavier as I took slow, deliberate steps toward the hallway. The house wasn't completely silent anymore. There was movement, soft rustling, muffled voices. My partner's voice, low and indistinct, followed by a quiet chuckle that didn't belong to me. Froze. My chest tightened, stomach twisting in a way that made me feel sick. I wasn't ready for what I was about to see, but my feet kept moving forward, betraying the part of me that wanted to run. As I reached the bedroom door, I noticed it wasn't fully closed. A sliver of space revealed just enough, a glimpse of bare skin, tangled sheets, two bodies too close together. My head felt light, like I was floating outside myself, watching a scene I couldn't comprehend. The sound of my heartbeat pounded in my ears, drowning out everything else. I must have made a noise because the laughter stopped. A sharp intake of breath. Then silence. A different kind of silence now. One heavy with realization. My partner turned, eyes wide, mouth opening as if to speak. The neighbor, Mark, shifted awkwardly, pulling the covers higher. His expression a mix of guilt and discomfort. For a moment, none of us moved. It was like time had frozen, trapping us in this unbearable reality. My mind scrambled for words, but nothing came. What could I say? There was no excuse, no explanation that could undo what I had just seen. My partner finally spoke, voice shaking. "It's not what it looks like." Pathetic cliché, words that only made my stomach churn more. I let out a sharp, bitter laugh, though I didn't find anything funny. Not what it looks like. What was it, then? A mistake. An accident. The betrayal was right in front of me, undeniable and raw. Mark looked down, avoiding my gaze like a coward. He didn't even try to speak. Maybe he knew there was nothing he could say that would make this better. Or maybe he just didn't care. I could feel the weight of my partner's stare, waiting for me to react, to scream, to break down. But I didn't. I just stood there, a hollow numbness spreading through me. The pain would come later, I knew that much. But right now, I was too stunned to feel anything but emptiness. The air was suffocating, thick with the stench of betrayal. I needed to get out. Without another word, I turned and walked away, my body moving on autopilot. I heard my partner call my name, a desperate edge in their voice, but I didn't stop. Couldn't. Because at that moment I realized something. I would never see them the same way again. I don't remember leaving the house. 1 second I was standing in the doorway, and the next I was outside, my feet moving without thought. The world around me felt unreal, distant, like I was watching myself from somewhere else. My breath came in short, uneven bursts, my hands trembling at my sides. I walked for what felt like hours, though it was probably only minutes. My mind kept replaying the scene over and over, as if trying to convince me it had really happened. Every detail burned into my memory. The way they looked at each other, the way my partner's face crumbled when they saw me standing there. But it wasn't sadness in their eyes. It wasn't even guilt. It was fear. Fear of what I would do next. I should have felt rage. I should have wanted to scream, to break something, to demand answers. But I felt nothing. Just emptiness. A dull, aching void where something important had been ripped away. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. Then again. And again. My partner's name flashing across the screen. Each call a desperate attempt to reach me. I let it ring. What could they possibly say that would make this better? Eventually I stopped walking and just stood there, staring at nothing. I wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. Maybe they would later, when the shock wore off, when the reality of everything settled in. But right now, all I felt was numb. I don't know how long I stood there before I turned back. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. Avoiding it wouldn't change what had happened. The betrayal had already unfolded. Now I had to face it. When I walked in, my partner was waiting, eyes red, hands clasped together like a child caught in a lie. "Please," they started, voice shaking. "Just let me explain." Explain. As if words could fix what had been shattered. I stared at them, waiting, daring them to come up with something that would make this hurt less. But they didn't have anything. Just excuses. Just regret that came too late. Mark was gone. Course he was. Cowards never stick around when things get messy. But my partner had no choice. They had to face me, had to sit in the wreckage of what they had done. I took a slow breath, steadying myself. How long? My voice didn't sound like mine. It was too calm, too even. They hesitated. That was answer enough. "Does it matter?" they finally whispered. I let out a hollow laugh. "It matters to me." Silence stretched between us. The truth was right there, hovering in the air, unspoken but understood. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment. This was something deeper. And no matter what they said next, I already knew. Nothing would ever be the same again. I didn't stay that night. Couldn't. The walls of our home, once familiar and safe, felt suffocating. Every inch of that space was tainted now, a reminder of what had been lost. I grabbed my keys, walked out without another word, and didn't look back. The cold night air hit me like a slap, but I welcomed it. It was grounding, a sharp contrast to the numbness spreading through me. I drove without a destination, just letting the road take me somewhere. Anywhere that wasn't there. My phone kept buzzing, but I didn't need to read the messages to know what they said. Apologies, excuses, desperate attempts to undo what couldn't be undone. Eventually I pulled into an empty parking lot and just sat there. The weight of everything settled in my chest, pressing down until it hurt. My hands gripped the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me together. And then finally the tears came. I thought about everything. The years spent together, the trust one had so willingly given, the love I thought was real. How had I not seen it? Were there signs I had ignored? Or had I just believed in them too much? None of it mattered now. What was done was done. At some point exhaustion took over. I leaned my head back, closed my eyes, and let the world blur. When I finally drove home the next morning, it wasn't home anymore. Just a place filled with memories I wanted to erase. My partner was there, waiting. They looked like they hadn't slept, face pale, eyes swollen. "Can we talk?" they asked quietly. I met their gaze, searching for something. Remorse, sincerity, anything that could make me believe they were truly sorry. But all I saw was regret. Not for what they had done, but for getting caught. "There's nothing to talk about," I said. And I meant it. They started to cry, but I didn't feel pity. I had already lost too much to waste another second on their tears. I walked past them, went inside, and started packing. No screaming, no dramatic confrontation. Just quiet acceptance. Mark never reached out. I wasn't surprised. People like him never do. They cause destruction and walk away unscathed, leaving others to deal with the wreckage. But my partner, my ex-partner, kept trying. Apologies, pleas, promises of change. None of it mattered. Took time, but I healed. Slowly, painfully, but I did. The day I moved into my new place, I stood in the empty living room and let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. It was over. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the weight of it all. It didn't define me anymore. And as I looked around at a space that was mine and mine alone, I realized something. Losing them wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something better. Something I deserved.